Hi, I'm Michael Lenz, host of Beyond the Headlines. Join me on my next show as I sit down with Saratoga Springs Supervisor Matthew Veitch to discuss some of the initiatives he's working on down at the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors. I'll see you then. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I'm Michael Lenz. On today's show, I'll be talking with Matthew Veitch, a supervisor for Saratoga Springs. I'll talk with Supervisor Veitch about some of the issues he's working on down at the County Board of Supervisors when we come back. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. I'm pleased to be joined today by Matthew Veitch. He's a supervisor for Saratoga Springs. Supervisor Veitch, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Mike.
Glad
to
see
see
you.
you.
We've known each other for a very long time, and I remember back when Supervisor Veitch first ran, and hard to believe it's been 11 years.
I know.
Time flies, doesn't it?
It does.
Amazing. Why don't we start by having you tell our viewers about what your role as supervisor is? Because a lot of people listening, a lot of people watching, I should say, are they may be accustomed to Saratoga Springs politics, and we know the commissioner form of government is unique. I've had other commissioners and the mayor on before talking about that form of government.
Yeah.
You do play a role within what happens in Saratoga Springs, but tell us what the difference is as a supervisor versus as a council member.
Sure. So Saratoga Springs supervisor is, or any supervisor really, is a county level representative. So we don't actually serve on the city council, Saratoga Springs. We serve at the County Board of Supervisors down in Ballston Spa. There are 19 towns and 2 cities in Saratoga County, and each one has a supervisor. Plus the City of Saratoga Springs has 2 supervisors, and the town of Clifton Park has 2 supervisors. So there's 23 supervisors total. And, we kind of oversee more county level things like the Department of Social Services, the county DPW, Sheriff's Department, county clerk. So we're not in the, planning and economic development of Saratoga Springs, but more of for the county.
And you're strictly legislative, right?
Strictly legislative, role. Right. We don't have administrative roles, so I don't run a department, or I'm not part of any department like that. We have a county administrator that actually oversees that. So the supervisors are kind of the top level CEO, if you will, and then we have administration underneath that basically runs the day-to-day operation for the county. So supervisor's interesting in the city because you're not on the council. So you're not as much involved in the push and pull of the various commissioners in their agendas that they have.
You don't get all those phone calls,
right? You don't get all of that. So that's kind of good, and you also have the ability to kind of make your own way through the town. So for me, I've kind of gotten into the open space and those kinds of things as a passion of mine, and I can kind of just run with that. I can be involved in it wherever I need to be. Rather than kind of like, again, if you're like the public safety commissioner, you're police, fire, and you have to kind of work in that space, Whereas for me, I don't, I care about that stuff, but my passion is some other things, and you can kind of go off and work on them. So,
and you do participate in the council
role.
meetings, though. You go to council meetings. You do reports to the council. So there is an involvement on that level as well.
Yes. So we do attend every council meeting, and we do have an agenda period for us to give our agenda. We don't always have an agenda, but sometimes if it's pertinent to the city, we will report on what the county is doing in relation to the city. So so supervisor is a little bit different. It's one that you don't see every day, but we work, we're working every day, doing what we have to do and helping to keep the county running. And we're a part of the county, so we need to make sure that our voice is heard at the county level when things happen. So
sure. And I know that you said Clifton Park and Saratoga Springs have 2 supervisors. Yes. The reason is because of the population, correct?
Right. So the county votes on a weighted vote system. So every town votes in relation to their population. So we have towns that have as little as 900 residents. The town of Day is the smallest town in Saratoga County population-wise. And then we have Clifton Park, which has about 38,000 residents as the largest community in Saratoga County. So the supervisors, want to have kind of an equal level of voting power for each member, as close as they can get. Yeah. So for a larger community like Saratoga Springs, we're the second largest community in the county, we have 2 supervisors. So we split our voting power in half. So when I vote on not as for half of the residents, but my voting power is half of the residents of Saratoga
Makes sense.
Springs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's how it works in our county.
Yeah.
So the bigger towns, have a little more, voting power if you get them together. But we try to equal it out as best we can.
Yeah, a lot of issues going on down at the county. So
Sure.
let's jump in with the Saratoga County Economic Development, because I know you're the chair of the
Yes.
Economic Development Committee. So tell me what you guys are working on in that respect.
Sure. So the Saratoga County Economic Development Committee is about 7 supervisors, and we basically oversee everything from trying to attract new business to the county, working with the IDA for tax incentives and those kinds of things for business coming in. But it's actually a committee that handles a lot more than that. It's a committee that does promotion of Saratoga County, so we try to promote business and promote agriculture. We oversee planning, so that whole thing with open space, trails, development within the communities. The Saratoga County Planning Board is actually under the Economic Development Committee. We deal with soil and water conservation, the county fair, again, general county promotion, so we work with the Chamber of Commerce. The Saratoga County Chamber of Commerce is our designated tourism promotion agency for Saratoga County, so we work with them and fund them for their promotional efforts for Saratoga County. So, our meetings are full of information when we have them, and again, we do. We do have to approve various things in the county, space when things come up. We also handle the Workforce Development Board and Workforce and Training. So that's in my opinion, a very underutilized department at Saratoga County. If you're looking for a job, if you need help with your resume, if you need those kinds of things, they're there for you. And, just go down and see them. It's all free. So just go down and get those services if you need to.
Take advantage of them for sure. Very quickly before we take a break.
Sure.
A lot of talk in the news recently about SEDC, Saratoga County Prosperity Partnership.
Yep.
It was a little bit of a separating of ways back in the past. There's some confusion out there in terms of what they do and having the fact that there's both of them. You guys working to try to resolve that? Sure.
So at the beginning of the year, when I took the chairmanship of the committee, I made some statements at City Council about, how I'd like to see them to working together. They have the same mission, which is the promotion and growth of Saratoga County business. So, we've been working to try to get them to come together, work, collaboratively rather than competing with each other. And I think that's kind of starting to take fruit. We're starting to work on that, and there's some things that hopefully will be coming soon
well,
on that front.
Yeah, so, that's good news. That's good news. There's definitely some confusion out there as to why do we have 2 of these. So
sure, exactly.
It's good to see that maybe they're going to be working together in the future. So okay, let's take a quick break.
Sure.
And then we'll come back and talk about some other issues you're working on.
No problem.
Okay, stay with us. We'll be right back in just a minute. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. I am joined today by Matthew Veitch. He's a supervisor for the City of Saratoga Springs. And Supervisor Veitch, we've been talking about some of the initiatives down at the county. And one of them that's getting a lot of press is the new county public safety building. So bring us up to speed on where that project is.
Okay. So, we have an initiative to build a new public safety building at Saratoga County. It's going to be located in this town of Milton, near where the county jail is now. And the Board of Supervisors has moved that forward to a point where we're going to start doing design on that project. So it is moving forward. It is going to happen. And what it's planned to do actually is it's going to have the sheriff's offices in there. So we're going to move them out of the county jail and into this new building. It's going to have the probation department down there. And the county public health department is going to be down there, which for viewers from Saratoga Springs, that means that the Woodlawn Avenue building that we have here in Saratoga Springs will be vacated, and those offices will move down to Ballston Spa or the town of Milton, actually. So that's what the plan is. It's going to be a fairly expensive endeavor, but we need space at Saratoga County. We are squeezed in most of our buildings, and including the jail. We're having some space issues there, and we need to get some new facilities built in the county. So I'm supportive of what we've done so far. I'm a little concerned, just to say, a little concerned that public health is moving out of the city of Saratoga Springs and down into Milton. But I think we have some plans in place with the chairman of the board and some of the other supervisors on how we can get that service into the city of Saratoga Springs. Whether we do a mobile public health department or something like that. And, we have it here, and even some towns don't have it. So it kind of makes sense to kind of have that service move around the county and be available to all of the towns in different places of the county when it's needed. So, again, that's my kind of take on that. But the building itself is, is going to be state of the art. It's going to be actually built for the future. So it's going to be a little bigger than what we need right now, but better to prepare. Because the county is growing, as fast as it's growing.
Sure.
So we'll have that, and really, it's going to be, I think, a good thing for us overall to do it. So, so it's moving forward, and stay tuned. We'll be announcing when we break ground.
So I think I read $30 million project.
Yes.
There is some opposition. I know Clifton Park Supervisor Phil Barrett has said the jail is a higher priority. We're a growing county. The state has had to approve waivers multiple times for double bunking.
Yes.
He's talking about being proactive, put the money into the jails. What say you?
I think that we should, when we move our people out of the jail that they're in now, I think that we can make new cell space there in that area where the administration is right now. Our 911 center and everything is in there, so there's a lot of space that we're using for operations. So when we move that out of the jail, that creates some space for the cells. Now, we just approved at our board meeting this month what they call a work release program. So some of the inmates that we have, very low level, nonviolent, people that are in the jail, we're gonna try to transition them into some productive work, and that should also free up some space at the jail. So I think we're not building a new jail, and we're not expanding that yet, and maybe at some point we will. But I think what we're doing will solve some of those problems, and hopefully satisfy my colleague from Clifton Park a little bit, and I know that and move that forward. So
yeah, and I know that you're still within the mandates in terms of the inmates population. So it's not like you're exceeding mandates. So yeah, that makes sense. You'll be able to kind of use that building to create potentially more jail space.
Right, and interestingly enough, we have a unique situation in Saratoga County. We're a summer tourist attraction. So in the wintertime, we're not anywhere near violating those double bunking rules and whatnot. But in the summertime, we have far more folks that are in the jail because they're
spend a little time in the jail.
Yeah. It happens, but so that's when we wind up kind of bumping up against the state mandate for size of the jail. So,
well, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's shift gears over to the Saratoga Springs Preservation Foundation, because I know you're very involved in that organization, and tell us about some of the goals and initiatives that you're working on as it relates to that.
Yeah, so I interesting is a little history there. My grandfather was the director of urban renewal for Saratoga Springs back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, actually.
And I know you've done some presentations at the at the casino
for the foundation, and so that was a lot of tearing down old buildings and building new. And look, we have some wonderful things like the city center here that were part of the urban renewal program. So it was a great thing for the city overall, but controversial in the sense that you're tearing down infrastructure. But so I've gotten involved and feel that we should preserve what we have, and got appointed a few years ago to the Preservation Foundation. I'm now the president of the foundation. We just had our historic homes tour last week and did a great. Probably our biggest ever, which was fantastic. But we're looking at a couple of different things, actually. I mean, one of my goals as the president is to kind of push us back toward our original mission, which the first thing the foundation ever did was rehabilitate some row houses on Clinton Street. And so I want to get back to kind of doing some of that. And I know that our executive director and our board have discussed this, at our meeting. So try to see if there's some way we can get to, actually preserve a historic structure in the city. And what would that mean if we were to, rehabilitate it and then, maybe sell it or, do something, get a family in there. We haven't really kind of fleshed out all those details yet, but I think that's something that I'd like to do as a president and kind of get us moving back into that direction. Because, we spend a lot of time advocating for, at the DRC and at the city planning board and those kinds of things to preserve our history. And that's great. And, again, that's a big part of our mission. But actually doing the preservation work is what I'd like to do. And I think we can do it. It's just we got to plan it.
Well, it makes sense because one of the things I think that makes Saratoga Springs unique, and I remember when I was in office, worked with now Assemblywoman Carrie Warner, who was the executive director at the time.
Yes.
to do some exciting things over on Beekman Street. And you know, you realize that one of the things that makes Saratoga so unique and makes people want to come here is our beautiful architecture and our buildings that have been preserved. You go to other communities around the state that where urban renewal came in and wiped them clean, and there just isn't that charm anymore.
Right.
So it is important for us to maintain that and preserve those things.
Exactly. And so I'm happy to continue to move that mission forward, because I think we need to have that in the city. It's you know, sometimes we can be controversial because we push for different things, but I think at the end of the day, it's good that we have this foundation in Saratoga Springs, and it's good work that we do. And it is. We're busy all the time there. I mean, there's always people coming in with, homes they want to renovate, and they come to us for advice, and we have to, follow the history and all of that. It's really kind of.
I think it has to do with the fact that your family lived in the O'Brien Inn building.
Yes.
So I think that's probably where it was engendered.
That's
in you,
part of it. Yes.
Somewhere in your genes. So, all right, we're going to take another quick break.
Sure.
And I know there's some other issues we want to talk about on the other side. Okay.
Great.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. I'm pleased to be joined by Matthew Veitch. He's the supervisor for Saratoga Springs. And Supervisor Veitch, we were just talking about the Preservation Foundation.
Yes.
And I know that there's a brand new building that NYRA is going to be putting up.
Yes.
Right at that first turn, we're used to seeing these temporary buildings put up where people can go and they can have functions. But now NYRA has committed to building a brand new building.
Yes.
And I know the Preservation Foundation's been involved in that process, so tell us about that.
Yeah, so NYRA is just put out that they were going to build their At the Rail building, and it's going to replace the tents and the temporary structures, which not all that aesthetically pleasing.
No.
And so they're going to put a building there, and I know that it is generating some discussion among the community about the building and the design and that kind of thing. So, as part of the process for NYRA to, first of all, let me take a step back. NYRA and the state owns the land of the Saratoga Racetrack now. It wasn't that way forever, but they own that now. So really, anything that's done at the track really does not require any kind of local oversight. The state could move ahead with a project without having to go to the planning board or go to the design review commission or talk to the mayor or supervisor about anything. They're state run, and it's a state facility. So OGS really has the Office of General Services really has the oversight for anything that happens at the racetrack. So we thought it was great that the state had asked the Preservation Foundation and had us involved in that process, because there really wasn't a local voice in the discussion for what NYRA wants to do for their future capital programs. So the original plans they had sent us, they were good. We had some suggestions to make some changes to them, and they took our suggestions and incorporated them into the building. So whether you're a person who doesn't feel it's the right thing for Saratoga at this point or is in favor of it, just know that the Preservation Foundation was involved in that and gave its input, and it was accepted and well taken by the state. So, I got to see some of that as the president of the foundation going forward. So, me personally, I'm supportive of the building. I think it's going to be a good asset for Saratoga Springs and the racetrack overall. It will replace the ugly, temporary things that are there now. I know that there's some ideas of planting some more trees around that area, and those are the kinds of things that the renderings don't show. My first take when I saw them was there's no context around the building. It's a picture of a building with like a blue background.
Right.
There's going to be the other building next to it that'll be there, and then there's other things around there that you don't really see in a rendering. So I think when it's built, it'll hopefully have much great support among the community, and things changed at the racetrack. Originally we didn't have the grandstand on the end. It was not there. In the 1960s that was built. The clubhouse actually changed twice. There was an original clubhouse that was torn down, and they built the one that we have now. So, change happens at the racetrack, and hopefully it's incremental and slow, so we don't get a big change all at once. But this will be a little bit bigger of a change. But overall, I think it's good for the track to have them doing that. So
that's a good point that the state didn't really need any approval from the local entity, and the fact that they voluntarily reached out and said, give us some input, that's a good point. I know they put about $30 million of investment into that track since 2015, so they're they're pouring some money in there.
Yes.
So we'll see how that works out. And I did see the renderings, and it is hard to grasp what it will look like in the context, but from the renderings I saw, it looks like a pretty nice building. So I know the preservation certainly is an important part of your makeup. Also, you're an avid cyclist.
Yes.
So trails are important to you. I know from way back when you first started running, you were talking about getting bike trails and pedestrian trails through the city.
Yes.
So you've been working on some initiatives in that area as well. So tell us about those.
Yeah. So we have a group of several different stakeholders, if you want to call it that. It's a little working group that we kind of put together. People from the Greenbelt Trail Committee, County DPW, myself, County Planning, as well as the Commissioner of Public Safety for the City of Saratoga Springs, and our open space person in the city. They call her the what do they call her? The sustainability coordinator.
Oh, yes.
And so we are all getting together once a month, and we're kind of looking at some ideas. But one of the things we've proposed is setting up a county bike route system. Where we have miles of county roads. The county is actually a pretty large county, and we have miles of county roads maintained by the county all throughout, and I ride on them all the time. So I kind of know where I like to go, but we want to kind of see where other people like to go, and then kind of develop a system throughout the county that are signed and say bike route. And you can take expand the shoulders a little bit, maybe do some infrastructure work, get it so that you can ride safely around the county in places that people like to ride. So, there's people who like to ride up the Lake Desolation Hill. I haven't done that yet. I hear that's not really that easy.
But maybe a little dangerous.
Yeah, that's a county road, so we have to. There's cyclists there all the time, so it's almost makes a little bit of sense to kind of say, like, here's where we would like to see you. I mean, anybody can ride on any road anytime, but at the end of the day, we want to kind of say, here's our official routes, and how do we want to do that? Do we want to have ones that go from town to town, or do we want to have ones that go from different attraction to another different attraction? We're all trying to figure that out right now. But I think it's something that would be it's being welcomed at the county. We have a trails committee, and we've brought it there, and they seem to be supportive and go forward with it. So we're doing that, and it's great to get the working group together once a month and just kind of talk about what we want to do. I know there's some talk about potentially expanding and doing a lane on Crescent Avenue here in the city, which is a county road, and that may be one of the first things we do, where you see like a real good bike infrastructure from the state park out to like about where the Saratoga Casino Hotel is.
Yeah.
So we're going to see how that all goes.
That's great.
I mean, funding is always the challenge.
That's always the challenge. Yes.
So getting the money is always the challenge.
You got to get it out there for sure.
But we have to put the proposals together first. Yeah. So, but it's a good thing, and I'm happy to keep working on that kind of stuff, and I assist the city. I mean, I know they have the Greenbelt Trail Plan, so. I'm happy to help them however I can. So
a day like today, you'd want to take that tie off and go for a bike ride.
Absolutely.
Very quickly, we've got about 60 seconds left.
Sure.
I just want to touch on infrastructure. On unfunded mandates.
Yes.
Because I know that's a big challenge that you're facing right now.
So Saratoga County, this is the first year in our budget where our property taxes were less than the unfunded mandates that we have to pay back to the state. It was 102% of your property tax went to unfunded mandates. So we continue to push at both the state and federal level that the counties pushing those funds down to the taxpayer at the lower end here is not how we should be doing that. They should be able to fund that through their state and federal taxes. I mean, we all pay, it all comes out of our pocket somewhere. But at the end of the day, the county shouldn't be beholden for that and how to manage it and how to pay for it. When they send things down, it becomes an unfunded mandate. So, they say, well, you have to do this, and then how do we pay for it? And then we're the ones that get stuck, with the, negative view because we're raising taxes or we're doing something like that, and we don't really want to do that here in Saratoga County. We're a low tax county. We want to keep it that way. So,
well, keep up the fight.
Absolutely,
as they say.
Sure.
And I say this to all the public servants that come on. I know that we've only scratched the surface of what you do every day and every week and every month, but keep up the great work. Appreciate what you do, and thank you for coming on the show and spending some time with our viewers. And hopefully we'll get you on again soon.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Supervisor.
You got it.
And stay with me. I'll be right back in just a minute to wrap things up. I want to thank my guest, Saratoga Springs Supervisor Matthew Veitch, for joining me today, and thank you for tuning in. Join me next time as we continue our discussion with the business and political leaders shaping the news here in Saratoga Springs and the surrounding communities. Until then, for everyone here at Look Media, I'm Michael Lenz. Thanks for spending part of your day with us.